Good morning, comrades. It is Monday, the 10th of May, 2021. This is your daily Good Morning Comrade. What's going on? My face is looking pretty red, isn't it? Why is my face so red? What's going on here? Hey, okay, that's better. What's going on, everybody? It is rainy out, flash flood warning, sort of thing. It was like really nice yesterday. We had like my mom and her, my brothers and my mom, Kimberly's mother came over, so we kind of like had a big old hanging out type day. But yeah, we're here right now. It's storming outside, so if my power goes out, then the show will be over. So there you go. But what's going on, folks? What is happening? Good morning. How we doing? It's a beautiful day. Oh my gosh. We've got some news. We have got some news today for y'all to get to. Got a couple stories, one of which we will get into thusly. So, I find this one to be like really simultaneously like super infuriating, also super hilarious. But like this is a story from Axios, which is not necessarily like a hard-hitting news journalism outfit. And they talk a little bit about, they talk with the Shell executive, and let's take a look.
Shell is among the companies that have been, in some, activists' minds, one of the most hated companies in the world, least trusted.
Now, let's remember really quickly that Shell has known about the effects of climate change since I want to say the 70s. And they've essentially chosen to hide their findings from the public. So let's just keep that in mind going in.
So what should anybody take away from our conversation today to make them feel like they can trust that you will take the company in this direction that it needs to go into?
I think what people need to take away ultimately is that we mean what we say and that we are actually making progress.
You can trust the Shell Corporation.
In the end, that will happen because they will see us do the right thing.
Well, it also takes time. People want to see the results right now.
I think that is one of the challenges. Could we work with governments and say, listen, heavy-duty trucking is best switched to hydrogen, and if you do it in this way, that will allow us to build the hydrogen facilities forward? Yes, that's exactly what we do. But then don't expect that tomorrow we will stop selling diesel to trucks.
A competitor like BP has set out a specific target to cut that production rate by about 40% over 10 years. Other competitors are trying to also cut on the supply side. Will you put out a similar target?
No, we have said we will focus on the demand side, and then the supply side is a resultant of that.
When you look at the timeline for this plan, at what point do you think Shell will make more than 50% of its business from clean, green energy?
I think that will probably be somewhere the next decade. Yeah.
Good morning, Choking on Ashes. How are you today? So basically, what Shell is trying to do here, it seems like, at least to me, is they're trying to get credit for putting forward like a plan to get like they want good PR for essentially like doing the new hot fad thing, which is essentially talking about how the oil company, the one of the top polluters in the world, are actually one of the leading I guess impetus behind like adjusting for climate change. When I mean, like obviously that's not what Shell does. Shell makes their entire business by essentially, like I was saying earlier, Shell has lied time and time again about the impacts of human-made climate change for decades. They had their own internal researchers essentially come to specific findings about what the impact of climate change is. They looked at those reports. They said they saw what was going to be the impact on their bottom line if they made any kind of adjustments, and they just buried that shit. They threw it in the trash. They got rid of it, and they said, you know what? Fuck the planet. We need that line to go up, folks. We need to make more money
in the next decade.
Yeah, I would
More than
imagine
50%.
if we do not make that type of process by the middle of next decade, we have a problem, not just as a company, but as a society.
If demand goes away, will Shell still drill?
Well, there will always be demand for oil and gas, Hope, and that
Forever.
is, well, forever, for a long time to come, and that's okay. We can get to 1.5.
He's basically creating a reality when he says that, because that's really interesting. Like, because he's framed every answer so far in like, well, we're responding to supply or demand and all these other things. So she basically asked a complete hypothetical of, well, if the demand goes away for drilling, will you stop? And he's like, oh, that's never going to happen. That'll never happen.
1.5 degrees on this world, but still some oil and gas in the energy mix.
What a fucking piece of shit. There's got to be more in the article, right? Yeah. Yeah, Shell has been one of the most criticized companies in the world for drilling practices and carbon emissions. What the company has ambitious plans to turn itself into a climate-friendly and net zero emissions energy by 2050. I mean, again, they just want credit for that. Many governments do not want to be seen listening to us, he said. I don't like it, but it's nevertheless a reality. What were you going to say? What were you going to say? That they just want PR? Because that's what it is. I mean, that's exactly what they're trying to do here. Like, they're just, like, trying to get attention. They're trying to get credit for... Yeah, they're trying to get credit for being anti-fossil fuels while still, like, doing the same shit. They just want credit for that. That's all. In Nigeria, they've caused wreckage. Yeah, of course. They don't have the same kinds of like governmental protections that we have had, at least at certain points in the U.S. Greenwashing, exactly. It's exactly what it is. You're taking essentially what people care about right now, which is the future of the planet, the idea that we're essentially expiring and exhausting all of the resources that exist on this planet, that you're taking a real anxiety in that and essentially using that anxiety and this sort of like positive framing of things like, the Green New Deal and stuff like that, which are, hopeful, and essentially trying to hijack that language or hijack that energy just to keep doing the same shit that you've always done, which is what put us in this problem in the first place. You're almost out of the you're in the shower right now, G Wolf. Incredible. Tell me more. But yeah, fuck the oil companies. So one of the other things I keep seeing pop up, and it's crazy to me that this keeps happening. Like bosses across the country are just absolutely in tears right now. They are crying and complaining about how nobody wants to work anymore, which is like it's incredible to me. Like how. Well, let's take a look at this article. No one wants to work anymore. The truth behind this unemployment benefits myth. So this is kind of like addressing that particular issue where everybody's claiming that they're hiring, they just can't get enough work. But they're not doing. They're not raising wages. They're not increasing benefits. They're not doing anything to actually benefit workers. They're not doing anything to draw people in. They're just complaining about it. So U.S. employees are concerned about safety. Others have caregiving responsibilities, and some are using job loss as an opportunity to find other work. Exactly. At restaurants across the country, from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Fort Worth, Texas, the same sign is popping up. We are short-staffed. Please be patient with the staff that did show up. Nobody wants to work anymore. And it's almost like that particular line, the nobody wants to work anymore line, is popping up specifically, as though it's coordinated even. The implication is that the federal government's expanded unemployment benefits of $300 each week, if you qualify, mind, are keeping people at home instead of behind cash registers and in fast food kitchens. That sounds actually like a pretty positive development, right? You don't really need, people ringing up, cash registers and getting people in fast food kitchens. If you can do anything other than these meaningless, workaday jobs and get by, why wouldn't you? It's a concern shared by independent business owners with interviews with local and national media, worried that their efforts to bump wages and increase benefits aren't luring the workers they need as COVID-19 restrictions fall and consumer spending soars. Unfortunately for them, what's happening is a feature, not a bug, of the U.S. economic system, and the blame can't entirely be placed on a $300 weekly check. I mean, it can't be placed. I guess maybe a tiny bit of it can, but again, $300 down from $600 at the beginning of the pandemic. 1, 2, you have to qualify for that. If you, I didn't qualify for unemployment insurance because of the way that I took leave from work, and then 3, again, even if consumer spending is soaring, we are still in the middle of a pandemic, right? So forcing people into work actually does sound like a fairly bad idea. Job openings rose to a 2-year high in February, according to the U.S. Labor Department's Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey, published last month. And in March, employers added nearly 1 million new jobs, with many economists expecting similar or better gains in April jobs report on Friday. If job openings accelerate faster than people apply for work, then that will be a pain for business owners. The pandemic has added some quirks to the economic reality. It is true that a sliver of people would rather stay home for a few months, taking a much more from unemployment than they would be by defrosting meat patties or answering phones. So this is like an editorial type thing. But would-be employees are also concerned about safety. 46% of the population hasn't received a single vaccine dose of COVID-19, and the spread of COVID-19 is uncontrolled in the U.S. Potential employees have caregiving responsibilities. This recession has disproportionately affected women, who are largely take up the duties. And in late March, more than half of schools were still doing remote learning for a combination of remote and in-person classes. So let me talk about the school thing first. All right. Part of the reason, and again, in places like where I live, right outside of New Orleans, Jefferson Parish, they essentially forced the schools back open as soon as they could. The schools in Jefferson Parish were open in September. They opened them as fast as they could because they knew that if you get kids going, and it was not like 100%. It was not like 100% everybody in school in person, but that was the idea. And by now, basically, almost everybody's back, physically in the building, except for a few outlying cases. And the reason for that is to make parents and guardians of children available to go to work. That's the whole fucking point, right? And then it says that the caregiving responsibilities that unfortunately affects women, they usually have that kind of care work. And again, this idea of forcing things forcing people essentially back into spaces where they're going to be sharing, like shared spaces where they will interact, and you could potentially spread the disease when we still have uncontrolled spread and we still have essentially nowhere near close enough. I mean, if 46% of the population got the vaccine, I mean, you probably need closer to 80 to get to like what, you know, effective immunity would be. And then also, in addition to that, there have been reports that have been coming out and that essentially we're not going to get to the herd immunity threshold, and essentially COVID is going to essentially be around. Possibly, I mean, it's here to stay. Let's put it like that. Others like LaShonta Knowles in Cleveland, Ohio, are using their job loss as an opportunity to do something different. Until September, Knowles had worked the same job at a relocation services company for 7 years, unhappy and unsupported, only ever receiving attention for doing things wrong. Yeah. I stayed out of comfort, out of fear, if this job doesn't want me. I didn't think anyone else would. Luckily, I don't feel that way anymore since I went back to school. Wow. I mean, so like part of the people don't want to work anymore line that these bosses are throwing out is essentially like, we can't lock people into their jobs, to their dead-end jobs where they can't go anywhere, and give them absolutely no hope to you know, find out what you can actually do that is potentially fulfilling. We need you, you know, making burgers or ringing up customers or doing all this, like, again, very, very like unfulfilling, alienated work for someone else. Let's continue. This month she will receive a certification in web programming and development. Even with the unemployment and the financial situation has been tough, in part because Ohio has been inconsistent with unemployment payments. Nice. Great job, Ohio. This is a problem facing millions across the country because the benefit system is unequipped to respond to this recession. It has been such an issue that the not-for-profit Ohio Organizing Collective stepped up to help people like Knowles navigate the system and invite them to take action to call for something better. So essentially, like, they have an organizing group that's actually helping people to just get their unemployment paperwork in. Yeah, sign me up for that shit. And yeah, the other crazy thing about unemployment, and part of the reason that it's not like working out, it is because it is run by the states. And like, again, in the United States, some states have good systems to distribute this, and other ones, essentially you call this number, like literally you can't even do it on the internet anymore. Or you have to like call a phone number and you know, essentially you go through the dial menus and shit like that. Ultimately, though, Knowles feels like luck is on her side. Unemployment actually helped direct me on a path that I should have been on, Knowles said. Unemployment benefits have also allowed out-of-work people to help support the economy. Huh. University of Chicago researchers found that the unemployment expansion of $600 a week in 2020 allowed people to spend money in a way that they wouldn't without it. That means some of the same businesses complaining about hiring might not earn as much money without unemployment. Yeah, because that money is coming into the economy, because that money is coming from the government into people's hands, people spend that shit. You spend that stuff, so yeah, of course. The expansion is set to expire in early September, and economists are watching to see what that means for business owners and low-wage workers who are still struggling with the economy while the economy recovers more quickly for high-wage workers. Yeah, it always happens that way, too. When the people that make the most money they feel it the least initially, and then it's a reorganization where they actually get their money restored before the people at the bottom, the people that have the hardest, most difficult jobs, do. The University of Massachusetts Amherst economist Arindrajit Dube said the financial stimulus, including unemployment benefits could lead to a once in a generation or two generations increase in wages and reduced unemployment rates. I doubt that's going to happen. It would be nice if that were to happen. I mean, what part of the problem? I mean, they're saying that there's, pressure to push wages up or whatever here. And there's a little bit of sort of lip service towards the idea that jobs are offering more money. But it's like small time, it could. Yeah, exactly. It could. It's like small time, one-time bonuses. It's not like huge benefits. It's not anything that's going to, be earth-shattering. That's a sort of a pie in the sky analysis, if you ask me. Last time this type of wage growth happened was in the late 1990s when the labor market tightened, with many employers chasing fewer workers. You had a tight enough labor market, which led to broad-based wage growth of the sort we hadn't really seen since maybe the 70s, he said. And that was unusual. And yes, employers had a hard time filling vacancies. They had to raise wages a lot, and that's okay. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong. But again, this is a whole question of, because wages aren't going up now. They're not. And again, money is flying around. People are, businesses are doing fine, but they're just complaining about people not working. And what that ends up sort of telling me, the takeaway that I have is, one, there's this sort of really strong effort to end that unemployment boost, no matter what COVID's doing in September. And it might be worse than it is now. I mean, I'm hearing nightmare stories in out of India, and about essentially mutant strains of COVID, and they're definitely in Louisiana. They're in probably most states by now, which are less affected. I'm not an expert on this, but they're less sort of mitigated by the vaccine than than the original strains that we've already been sort of dealing with. And the fact that we're not getting people vaccines. And also at the same time, we've just decided that this pandemic is over. It's just all of a sudden it's done, based off of not very much. I mean, infections have gone down, deaths have gone down, but that doesn't mean that the whole thing's over. It can flare right back up, just like it had before. So essentially, we're going to live in a world where you are necessarily forced back into work. Now you're fighting tooth and nail to stop new tech from becoming profitable and taking hold. Well, I mean, that is going to happen too. I mean, that's always going to happen. And I'm not even against tech and automation necessarily as a just a general thing. It's fine with me as long as that tech is making people's lives better and not worse, right? The part of the problem with automation and the idea of the whole tech thing is that it makes the idea of the automation of tech. The automation of work. It doesn't do you a goddamn thing. It doesn't do anything for anybody if the result of that is workers just get screwed over and the bosses just get to make infinite money. What do you mean it's the time of year, Chokin? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. You're thinking wind, solar, and what is EVs? What are EVs? Anyway, but yeah, it's not good right now. I mean, the idea, and this is the thing that's really kind of interesting to me, they're going to end these programs and they're going to do it through whining. They're going to essentially end unemployment because they're going to complain their way to the end of the unemployment use electric vehicles. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be, and like part of the Green New Deal to talk about like the jobs that are going to, purportedly disappear. Because they're going to purportedly disappear because of the sort of like change in, economy from a fossil fuel economy to a more sustainable one. I mean, part of the Green New Deal is to get people from coal type jobs and put them into more sustainable energy jobs. You actually don't end those kinds of things immediately. You can't. I mean, you can't just stop doing one thing. You do need to have a transition. Chokin says that COVID cases are leveling out because people are outside more and it's getting warmer. It's exactly right. When it gets cold again, which it definitely will as the fall turns to winter. People will be in indoor proximity to one another, and that is like the hotbeds of where COVID comes from. And it was spiking, I guess, last summer, so you didn't see quite as much of it, but it really, really, you can see as things went like after like October in 2020, it got worse. Yeah, the pandemic is definitely not over. The pandemic is not over. Absolutely not. Now Fauci is saying, God, one of the things about Fauci that kind of drives me crazy is that like he just can't hold to a line. He's now saying that masks could become seasonal following the pandemic, which is very funny to me. Here we've outlawed wind farms, yet 2 counties over, we get half our electricity from wind shipped here. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, the wind farms froze Texas this year, didn't they? So why would you have wind farms? That sounds very dangerous to me. The windmills were is that what happened? Is that what they said happened? The wind turbines caused or were in part like responsible for the for the freezing. That was very funny to me. That was like some of the like very early. My face is super red again. What is going on? What is going on? Why is my face red? I am not blushing. I am not embarrassed. It's 0. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Link. Look. You see her? She's eating. They get in the way of oil wells. Let me go get her. Here is Flick. Flick says hello. Say hello, Flick. This is the most dudes rock cat you've ever seen. He's ridiculous. What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? Sorry, you get cat butt on the screen. I know. Okay. Flick loves being on the show. So, did anybody watch that like super cringe Saturday Night Live episode where Elon Musk was on there? You've got 2. I've got 5 cats right now. Yeah, the cats will crash the screen. Absolutely. I mean, the stream. They actually will, but like, I don't know. Flick will just drop in sometimes, but I want to go grab him. You know, he's my little buddy. Now he won't go away. Yeah, we got 5 cats. So we had I think I've told this story on stream. I don't know, but I'd never had cats in my entire life, and I'd always had dogs, and me and my wife, you know, we have had dogs for many, many years, and then in 2019, I guess. In 2019, we got one cat, an orange cat named Sam, and then we got a second cat over the summer named Phoebe. And then right at the beginning of COVID, Phoebe got out. She was not yet fixed. She was still kind of a kitten. And next thing you know, she had 3 kittens. And now we have 5 cats. So there you go. That's the story. Yeah, it was pretty cringe. It was so the Elon Musk thing was extremely cringe, right? I was watching it; it was not good. How they ended up taking this is the most shocking and jaw-dropping thing to me. They took they made Wario not funny. That's impossible. And plus, how are you going to be Wario and not say I'm gonna win at least one time, right? And then they took another slam dunk in the same sketch, no less. They took a anti-Italian discrimination joke, and they messed that one up too. How is this possible? This is why the elites cannot run this world. This is why Elon Musk is definitely like horrible. And plus, did you see the thing about him saying he has Asperger's or whatever? Like that was also very, very strange to me. Mostly because that's dated terminology. People don't use the term Asperger's so much. It's, autism spectrum disorder, and it was really wild. Your dad has 20 cats. Holy crap, dude! All right, but anyway, whilst that was happening, while the cringe was being posted on SNL, and make no mistake, it was indeed cringe. Also, Dogecoin tumbled. Oh no! Dogecoin took a bath. Let's talk about Dogecoin. Dogecoin lost more than a third of its price on Sunday after Tesla chief and cryptocurrency supporter Elon Musk called it a hustle during his guest host spot on Saturday Night Live, the comedy sketch TV show. Doge is quoted as low as 0.416, so like 41 cents, 42 cents on crypto exchange Binance, down 36% from levels around 65 cents before the show. It retraced some of that move later on Sunday and was last trending around 57 cents. I think she said she sold hers. I talked to my brother about it, who has some Doge. And he probably lost about a third of what he had. He got in with 12 cents though. The billionaire Tesla Inc. chief executive posted on SNL show at 11:30 p.m. On Saturday. The cryptocurrency enthusiast had been eager to see what he would say after his tweets this year turned the once obscure digital currency, which began as a social media joke, into a speculator's dream. Asked, what is Dogecoin? Musk replied, it's the future of currency. It's an unstoppable financial vehicle that's going to take over the world. When a showcast member, Michael Che, countered, so it's a hustle? Musk replied, yeah, it's a hustle, and laughed. So there you go. I mean, essentially, it's the meme. It's basically memeing currency at this point. That's just what Doge is. Doge is a total joke. There's more here. I'm not going to get into that. But it's just, I don't know. It's very silly to me. That one dickhead billionaire can go on SNL and make some terrible jokes and somehow still get, drive the prices up and down. It's wild. It's wild. So how's everybody doing? Vibe check, everybody. What's going on? How are we doing today? What is happening? I will say we will be going live tonight. We will be live tonight we're having a very special interview with Brendan O'Connor. He is a writer for Strike Wave. He also had this really good article in the Baffler. He also has a book out, Reconsidering Fascism in America. He is, good dude. We've actually had him on another show that I used to do with some friends called Union Thoughts. Choking, you feeling good? That's good. Still trying to get motivated. Yeah, but we're having Brendan on tonight. He's going to be talking about an article that he wrote in the Baffler called When the Party's Over. It's going to be mostly about what organizing is going to look like after Bernie Sanders in America. So also, for some reason, this is sideways. I don't know. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Then we'll keep the show rolling tomorrow on through the week. Making sure that we keep delivering. Keep delivering that sweet content. And I don't know what happened there. Hello? Y'all still there? But yeah, check us out tonight. Gonna have Brendan on. It's back. No, it's back. Don't go. Stay here. It was not an F. It was, I respawned. What? Dude, things are bad in India. Oh, that's right. Pipelines are getting owned too. Check this out. Ransomware attack on major U.S. pipeline is work of criminal gang called DarkSide. What? There's a video. Let's take a look. The bottom scroll stays there, but I disappeared for a minute. I don't know what happened. All right. Let's check this out. Ransomware attack on this pipeline.
Good evening. Tonight, federal authorities are investigating a major cyber attack targeting America's energy infrastructure. Georgia-based.
Okay, interesting that it's framed that way immediately. So CBS is basically saying that this essentially is pipeline. I'm sure it was privately run pipeline. They basically all are, but calling that, framing that as America's, infrastructure is
investigating a major cyber attack
choice.
targeting America's energy infrastructure. Georgia-based Colonial Pipeline says it was hit by ransomware. The company responded by shutting its entire system down to protect it. Its pipelines run more than 5,000 miles from the Gulf Coast to New Jersey. The company transports 45% of the fuel consumed on the East Coast. Christina Ruffini leads us off from the White House with more. Good evening, Christina.
Good evening, Adriana. As you mentioned, federal law enforcement authorities as well as private security consultants have been called in to investigate the attack, during which bad actors were essentially able to force the shutdown of the largest refined petroleum pipeline in America. Colonial Pipeline says it pumps 100 million gallons of fuel through its network every day. But right now, that number is 0. The company shut down its pipeline Friday after a cyber attack compromised its IT system. We have since determined that this incident involves ransomware, it said in a statement. In response, we proactively took...
That's very wild, the ransomware thing. $2 million Target gift cards. Yeah.
certain systems offline to contain the threat. Colonial did not say and may not yet know who instigated the attack. Ransomware is an extortion tactic by which criminals infiltrate computer systems, steal data, and demand money for its release. Industrial cybersecurity expert Rob Lee.
Is there any industry or
I mean, there's a LimeWire.exe joke to be made here, right?
infrastructure that isn't vulnerable to these kinds of attacks right now?
Not at all. Our industrial networks are way...
This dude, oh my God. This dude, I mean, like, not going with Google Play cards, no. This dude's beard, like, I don't know, man. That's not a good look there, Chief. I'm sorry. I'm not one to sort of, like, dunk on nerds, but that's a bad look.
way more connected than they ever have been before. We haven't historically invested.
Like,
in
he
them
wanted
as
to make
much.
sure that he had a beard and a mustache at the same time. He's flying too close to the sun. He wants the both worlds. But like, there's just too much of a departure here. Right around the face, the lip area. Or I'm sorry, on the corners of the mouth area. You gotta. It just looks trash.
Once we do that, we will see a lot of that risk reduce.
In February, a hacker gained access to a Florida water treatment plant in what authorities believe was a failed attempt to contaminate its drinking water. And last year's so-called SolarWinds
His beard is
breach
still rendering.
used a software update to slip malicious code into dozens of government agencies and major U.S. companies. The White House says the Russian intelligence service was behind those keystrokes.
Oh, it was Russia. Of course it was Russia.
The White House says President Biden was briefed about the incident this morning, and the federal government is working with the industry to try to avoid shortages. Adriana, those pipelines carry everything from jet fuel to home heating oil.
Christina, is there any money for cybersecurity in the president's infrastructure bill?
There's not, and that's actually one of the criticisms. Industry experts and lawmakers have said there really needs to be investment in cybersecurity exactly to try to prevent attacks like we saw today.
All right, Christina Ruffini, thank you.
Top Damage Wizard says that I wonder for how much, because the protocol is to actually pay them. Don't let the world know that they got hacked, and then put the outside IT firm on it. Yeah, well, it seems like the strategy here is to just like make it about Russia, because I mean, like, that's what they just said at the end of that article. They basically said, "Oh yeah, by the way, Russia did this shit." I'm looking at an article here. Maybe we can get some more information from this. By the way, the Colonial Pipeline, interesting that they, just old names never change. They operated the largest petroleum pipeline between Texas and New York, which was shut down after a ransomware attack, declined on Sunday to say when it would reopen, raising concerns about a critical piece of infrastructure that carries nearly half of the East Coast's fuel supplies. They're doing it again. They're conflating this private company's oil pipeline with American infrastructure. That's really like fascinating when they do that. As someone that spends decades in IT, is so funny to see them show the social switches and a Matrix screensaver. While the shutdown has so far had little impact on supplies of gasoline, diesel, or jet fuel, some energy analysts warn that a prolonged suspension could raise prices at the pump along the East Coast and leave some smaller airports scrambling for jet fuel. Oh, cool. Colonial Pipeline, the pipeline operator, said on Sunday afternoon it was developing a, quote, system restart plan that would restore service to some small lines between terminals and delivery points, but will bring our fuel system back online only when we believe it is safe to do so. Yeah. Oh, God. The state of Louisiana got ransomware, not just the city. Like everything had to be shut down in Louisiana. I remember that because I was teaching at the time, and essentially, like, all of the like a lot of the paperwork that you have to do is maintained, like it's totally run through like a statewide database, and it got completely just destroyed for probably about a month. It was amazing. Somebody was mentioning what on Reddit? You talking about the Louisiana shutdown? I mean, it never got back to normal because like not long after all of that happened, then COVID happened, which was crazy too. Like last year was the crazy year of all time. Like school year, to be clear, because all this stuff happened in like November of 2019, and it just sort of like rolled into this one just giant catastrophe of a year. It was incredible. The shutdown of the 5,500-mile pipeline was a troubling sign that the nation's energy infrastructure is vulnerable to cyber attacks from criminal groups or nations. Always throw in nations, baby. Always make sure that you have an opening to attack Russia. Energy experts predicted that traders would view the company's announcement on Sunday as a sign that the pipeline would remain shut for at least a few days. Tom Kloza, global head of energy analysis at Oil Price Information Service, said that seems like an interesting job. You're basically like, oh, I am the price information. I am a 411 for oil prices or whatever. He said he thought about gasoline futures would rise 2 to 3% beginning Sunday night and Monday. Nationwide, the AAA Motor Club reported that the average price of regular gasoline did not budge from $2.96 a gallon from Saturday to Sunday. New York State prices remain stable at $3, and in some southeastern states like Georgia, which are considered particularly vulnerable if the pipeline does not open quickly, prices moved up a fraction of a penny a gallon. Okay. So there you go. You got ransomware. I don't see anything about how much it is, how much they asked for, or demanded in the ransom. But that's wild. And it must have been a lot then. And I mean, I'm always keep your third eye open on this kind of stuff, and like this could be a total and utter sort of like bullshit story to one, raise gas prices, and two, just saber rattle at Russia because that's always fun. But I don't know. Maybe it's maybe that's just me, being all tinfoil hat. But that's how I kind of like think about it. Wow, Tawny Kitaen died? I'm just scrolling through Google News, and Tawny Kitaen, star of Whitesnake's breakthrough videos and former wife of David Coverdale, died at age of 59. That's pretty sad. You're pretty sure that they're Russian, but not Russia. Nations don't want prepaid gift cards as payment. Yes, Russia spends a lot of time hacking into other countries' networks, but so do we in every other country with electricity. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that the woke. We never watched that, did we? Okay, let's watch this really quick because I think that because now we're talking about international espionage, and while on the subject of international espionage, why not talk about the CIA and that video? Because I was out of town when this dropped, and it was just sort of like it was incredible. Oh my God! I know this is old, but let's do it. Where is it? There it is. God, the CIA's got a freaking YouTube page. That rules. That friggin' rules. That the CIA has a YouTube page, by the way. Here we go. That video.
When I was 17, I quoted Zora Neale Hurston's How It Feels to Be Colored Me in my college application essay. The line that spoke to me stated
All
simply...
right. Check, making sure you're having like a literary reference to that you quoted at your college graduation. Check.
I am not tragic.
Tawny will always be on the hood of a Jaguar in your mind. Yeah.
Colored. There is no sorrow dammed up in my soul nor lurking behind my eyes. I do not mind at all. At 17, I had no idea what life would bring, but Sora's sentiment articulated so beautifully how I felt as a daughter of immigrants then and now.
Daughter of
Nothing
immigrants,
about
check.
me was or is tragic. I am perfectly made. I can wax eloquent on complex legal issues in English while also belting Guayaquil de mis amores in
Such
Spanish.
a girl boss.
I can change a diaper with one hand and console a crying toddler with the other. I am a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed.
Cisgender millennial. Like it's just like an absolute avalanche of like PMC language. Incredible. Sucks that worked very well and was pretty low tech. That was the U.S. Hitting Iran, right? That's what Stuxnet was.
With generalized anxiety disorder.
Generalized anxiety disorder. That's right. Cisgender woman with generalized anxiety disorder.
I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been
Cisgender
diagnosed
millennial.
with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional, but my existence is not a box-checking exercise. I am a walking declaration, a woman whose inflection does not rise at the end of her sentences, suggesting that a question has been asked.
You know, that seemed unnecessary, that particular point. Yeah, total PMC language, like absolutely PMC language. It pissed, well, okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. It didn't actually piss off the right. Like, the right wing loves this shit because they can essentially make like talk about why the CIA isn't doing enough like horrible, terrible stuff because they're too busy being woke or whatever, you know? Yeah, the line about like, oh, I don't end my sentences with an upward inflection like I would ask the question. Like it was like total girl boss shit.
Not rise at the end of her sentences, functional, but my existence is not a box-checking exercise. I am a walking declaration, a woman whose inflection does not rise at the end of her sentences, suggesting that a question has been asked.
What the fuck does
I did
that
not
mean?
sneak into CIA. My employment was not and is not the result of a fluke or slip through the cracks. I earned my way in, and I earned my way up the ranks of this organization. I am educated, qualified, and competent, and sometimes I struggle. I struggle feeling like I could do more, be more to my two sons, and I struggle leaving the office when I feel there's so much more to do. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, but
Imposter
at 36,
syndrome,
I
check.
refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be. I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather
She
than
occupies
intoxicate
spaces, baby.
people with my effort, my brilliance. I am proud of me, full stop. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA. I am unapologetically me. I want you to be unapologetically you, whoever you are. Know your worth. Command your space. Mija, you're worth it.
I think that is actually perfect, specifically with like one. Yes, it is like the ultimate in terms of like using like PMC like language to essentially appeal to the kind of people that would go to CIA, the people that are like doe-eyed enough to like understand that the CIA is like, wow, it's complicated, man. You know, they get out there and they do like a real service for America, as opposed to like actually being like the, you know, espionage and like like fucking torture, man. They've done coups throughout all of Central South America, also in Iran. And we mentioned Stuxnet earlier, but that was sort of like the flashpoint for how a lot of the shit in Iran went down. The CIA is one of the most evil organizations in the world, and like they're just gonna roll this stuff out here. And the other thing that this sort of like whole video and watching this like after the fact, I think is actually kind of helpful, because what it ended up doing, I found, was it re-kicked off that interminable conversation that like the left always has with itself on the question of like this, like the sort of like woke language that gets used. And I don't know, man, like that's a pretty good case to me that, I mean, not necessarily that it's got no use, but it's so easily co-optable by essentially the forces of the state and forces of capital to just say, yeah, we'll just do the same. We'll use like language that sounds inclusive to put I mean, Choking on Ashes mentioned earlier, like greenwashing, and like this is a similar sort of thing, like putting the veneer of putting like, and then greenwashing was like putting the veneer of environmental consciousness and awareness of climate change and all this other stuff on like literally Shell, and in the case of the CIA, putting the language of like powerful immigrants and powerful immigrant women occupying spaces with generalized anxiety disorder, or I'm a cisgender millennial or whatever. And I agree with you that kind of language is alienating to most people. However, the target audience of that kind of an article is not most people. It's like people who went to college and who essentially would be people that could essentially become in the CIA. It's wild. Anyway, we will be back tomorrow. I thank you all so much for joining in chat. I had a really great day today. Choking on Ashes, G Wolf, Top Damage Wizard. The whole crew was here. But like I said before, tonight, 8 Central, we will be having Brandon O'Connor. We're going to be talking about his article, When the Party's Over, about the life after essentially Bernie Sanders campaign. Yeah, where's Ginny? Where's Ginny today? We have to make sure that we get Ginny when they inevitably show up in the Above It All chat. Speaking of, go put on Andrea. Go check her out. You can also support our show, patreon.com/goodmorningcomrade. Follow me on Twitter @EminentProf. Follow Robert on Twitter @Comrade Morning. All that stuff. Thanks, everybody. Love you. Bye-bye. Thank you. I appreciate that, Choking on Ashes.